Hi, and welcome to BariAftcare. I'm Dr. Connie Stapleton, and I have been in the bariatric world for almost 20 years already. And we have been doing a whole bunch of videos in the podcast about communication. And we've been talking about assertive communication because that's what we're all going for, and that's what people use the least. So we're going to become a community who is the best active communicators, assertive communicators. We're going to share our thoughts, our feelings, our observations. We're going to use I statements. And the other part of being a really good communicator is being a really good listener. So today we're going to talk about goes right along with the assertive communication because it's respectful. We want to be a person who listens as well as speaks with respect and gives the other person as much understanding, listening, being heard, feeling understood. Like we really get where you're coming from because that's what we want from other people. In fact, I've heard a lot of things about how women, especially, what we want is to be understood. And sometimes we're not going to be understood, but at least if we could feel heard and feel like the person we're speaking with is trying to be empathic, understand where we're coming from, see the situation from our point of view. So, active listening is really important. And how this fits in with your bariatric journey, of course, if you get into arguments, if you're accused of not listening to me, right? You might end up emotionally eating, but check this out. Active listening is something you need to do not just with other people, but with yourself. Because if you listen closely, sadly, I fear that many of you will discover that how you talk to yourself is not where you might want it to be. And how you talk to yourself is highly correlated with unhealthy eating. What am I talking about? Well, we'll find out. Hang in there, okay? So, we're talking about active listening today, and we're going to talk about the most important part of active listening is learning to listen to yourself and pay attention to how that relates to your eating behaviors. Then we're going to talk about the technical definition of active listening and how active listening in your communication with other people will help in your bariatric post-op life. So the most important part, as I said, of this topic is learning to listen to yourself. Do you listen to yourself and how you talk to yourself? Do you listen to how you think about yourself? Do you listen to how you talk to yourself with other people? How do you talk about yourself when you're with other people? So, we're going to be talking about aggressive communication. And aggressive communication, is something we do from time to time, some of us more than others, which is really harsh. It's harsh, negative self talk. So if you talk to yourself harshly, like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, or I'm so lazy, or why do I bother, or I'm such a loser, those kinds of things, those are really aggressive statements to say to yourself. They're aggressive in the sense that they're unkind, they're bullying kinds of statements. They're very negative against yourself. And again, this is something we all do from time to time, but when there's a pattern that's resulting in harm to self or to others, that's when it's a problem. If we see a pattern of harm, it's a problem. So if you're a person who every now and then oh my goodness, I just said something negative about myself, and you're very surprised by that, well, then you probably don't fit into our club. I'm just kidding. Most of us tend to be pretty harsh and critical when we talk to ourselves about ourselves. But this is something we want to let go of. If you do this on a regular basis, this being engage in negative self talk, then you want to learn to overcome that. So as we talk about this business of active listening, please consider the idea of listening to your self-talk first, or of course, we'll talk about listening actively in a conversation with other people. But I think you're going to find it really interesting to see how using active listening skills can really change your outlook about a lot of things and improve your health habits. The health habits we're interested in on BariAftcare are your weight loss and your weight maintenance primarily, but also your relationships and how you deal in life. Are you as effective as you want to be? Are you the best you can be in all areas of your life? Now, let's talk about this business of active listening. What is the definition of it? How do you know when you're doing it? How do you know when you're being listened to actively by other people? We all talk a lot during the day and we listen, I put that in air quotes, a lot throughout the day. Think about your life. Depending on your circumstances, you may have a lot of people talking at you all day long. You might have people you live with. You might have partners. You might have children. And if they talk to you, it's like 10 people talking to you, even if it's just two. You might have coworkers, customers. Maybe you're a customer service person. My gosh, you have people talking at you all day long. Maybe your parents are talking to you. Maybe you're listening to the news. Maybe you're watching social media videos. Maybe there's a voice in your head that's talking to you all day long, which, by the way, there is. We talk to ourselves a lot throughout the day. And that goes back to the first point that we talked about, listening to yourself, to the tone in which you talk to yourself, with the words with which you use to talk to yourself. Are they kind or are they harsh? Are they constructive or are they abusive? All right. So all these people, yak, 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 yak. We hear a lot of words coming at us from a lot of different sources. And we may hear things and they float on by, float on by, float on by. And we may not be active listening. We cannot actively listen to all the things that come at us in a day because there's just too much. But when we need to, when there's a situation that calls for our attention and we can't just filter out all the noise, then we need to sit down and hear what's being said. And we need to tune in to the other person. When I feel heard, it's when somebody's looking at me, when they sit down and they give me their undivided attention, when they comment in response to what I'm saying, almost like restating it. So they're asking sort of for clarification. Do they have this right? They're not up doing 10 other things. Yeah, like we usually do, right? Your kids come home from school. You're busy doing 1,000 other things. They're trying to tell you what's going on in their day. And a lot of times, I bet we miss really important interactions with our kids because we're not actively listening. And that's not a criticism, it's just our busy lives. But if you pick up on something from somebody, whether it's at the office, in your home, whether it's a child or whoever it is, if we can take the time and give them the kind of attention that we want, then we become a very active listener. And that is such an amazing gift to give another person and to ourselves. And we'll hear why. So if you're going to have an important talk with a partner or a spouse or a significant other, or maybe, you got to have this sensitive talk, maybe with your siblings or your parents about their ailing health. Probably a good time to sit down and engage in active listening. Or let's say you've got a teenager, right? And they're super upset about their most recent romantic crisis. If you're lucky enough for them to talk to you about these things, it might be a time when you want to sit down and actively listen to what they have to say. Or maybe you've got a middle schooler whose very best friend in the whole world is moving all the way across the country and they're just devastated by this. Now, if you're busy packing lunches or loading the dishwasher or talking to people on the phone at the same time, you might just poo poo, shoo shoo when they need you, right? But if we can tune in and sit down and give them our undivided attention, think how much you convey to them by actively listening. What if you've got a family pet that's dying? The whole family needs to sit down and listen to one another. So, what is active listening? Well, it goes beyond hearing the words because you're probably good at hearing 10 different people talk at work, listening to the loudspeaker, the the intercom. If you're in school and you're listening to all these different things, if you're at the office, if you've got kids and the TV's on, you're hearing all these things. But active listening is more than just the words. It's being aware of the other person's emotions, not just their words and the tone of their voice, but by their body language. Yes, about their tone of voice. How fast are they speaking or how slowly are they speaking? What's their eye contact? Are they making eye contact or are they kind of looking away? What are they looking at about the room? Are they focused or are they just kind of off? Are you noticing them just kind of looking all around and gazing? Um, and how's their posture? Are they sitting up? Are they intense or are they slouched over, which could indicate a number of different things, right? But active listening is hearing, yes, what they're saying, but also what they might not be saying. And taking into account the situation, the context, the circumstances, and having empathy. What does empathy mean? It means regardless of what you think about the situation or how you feel about it when they're talking to you, it's doing your best to put yourself in their position and respond to them with their position in mind, right? Now, let's take the example of the teenager. Oh my God. Teenagers' emotions run hot and cold and deep and sporadic, and you just never know, right? But with a teenager who's telling you they're in love, oh my God, they're in love, and they're so afraid that their boyfriend is talking to another girl or vice versa or whatever it is, you might be thinking, oh, for God's sake, would you get over it? You're 15. You're going to love somebody else tomorrow. But if that's what you give your child, if that's what you say out of your mouth, how likely is it they'll ever come to you to talk to you about something like this again? What you want to do when you actively listen is let the person feel heard. And like all this other communication stuff that we've been talking about, it's easier to do with people you have less emotional involvement with because you don't have anything at stake with a stranger, really, and it's easier. But when we have emotional entanglements, with your kid, you might be like, you're 16, you can't be in love. What are you doing? If you're in love, are you, oh my God, what if you start getting worried about all kinds of things. You're like, you're 16. Oh my God, I'm too young to be grandma. Maybe they're not even thinking about having sex with this person, but because you're emotionally involved, you know, just you do things in your own mind. Um, so let's talk about the skills that you can work on as you learn this gift of being an active listener. And I promise we will take this to how this helps you in your weight loss journey. Take note of what the person's body language because it might convey emotions their words don't. Pay attention to their posture. Pay attention to their eye contact. If they're not looking at you, what might that mean? Are they worried about what you might think? Are they really anxious and worried and distracted? What's their facial expression? What are their gestures? Are they all over the place? What can you surmise about how they're feeling? Because when we listen actively, what we're doing, I call it listening for feelings. So if your teenager is just angsting about this love, oh my gosh, they're so in love. And you can just see on their face the distress and the worry and the misery. So you want to respond to how they appear to be feeling. So you might say, "You seem really upset about this." Or you might say, "You look really worried." Or you just seem frantic right now. So you're guessing based on their body language, based on their tone, based on their voice, and you just take a guess at it, what you surmise they're feeling. You respond to what's going on with them with a feeling. This is really critical. Another thing besides their nonverbals are their vocal messages, the volume. What are they emphasizing? What is their rate of speech? Are they talking really fast? And if they're really talking fast, what do you think that means? Or if they're really just kind of dragging on, are they depressed? Or what do you think's going on there? Do they have a really high pitch and that might indicate that they're really scared about something? And are they articulating? Or are they just kind of mumbling and you can't tell what can you surmise from those clues? And really watch for and listen for that emotion because you can use that information in your response. And this is how you're going to build your connection. This is how you build your connection in active listening by focusing on the emotion. You might be completely wrong, but that's okay because you're not just coming back with, "What are you so worked up about? Oh my God, you're 15. You think this is a big deal?" That's going to get you nowhere, right? It's going to distance you. And then how are you going to feel? Later, you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I was not very good with my kid today. I'm feeling terrible. I'm going to eat some ice cream so I feel better." Or you might be like, "What was up with them? They pissed me off so much. I just can't believe. What are they thinking being in love at 15?" And then you want to soothe yourself with chocolate. All right. We want to be the best adults we can be. And being our best adults means we want to be good listeners for the people in our lives or the people who aren't really in our lives but are in need of somebody to listen to them. So we take in all this information and we respond with an emotion. So let's say you're having an important talk with your partner and they're concerned because, again, let's go back to that. They're concerned because you're spending all this time as a post-op, wearing your cute clothes, doing your thing. They're happy for you, but they're feeling left out, right? So you might say, "Honey, I've noticed lately that," or you're no, 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 no. Your partner is talking to you, or maybe you come to them and say, "I noticed you've seemed upset with me. Is there anything that we need to talk about?" And the partner says, "Well, yeah, you're gone a lot lately, and you just seem too busy for me, and you just don't have time for me anymore. I'm the one that was there for you all along." So take all of this in instead of getting defensive about, "Well, yeah, I'm having fun. I like wearing these cute clothes. I'm looking good. I feel good about myself." Your job now is to be an active listener. So you respond with your guess of an emotion. "You seem really sad about that." "Well, yeah, I'm sad about it. I thought when you lost weight, you and I would spend more time doing things." Oh, let me see if I have this straight. So again, I'm actively listening to make sure I understand what you're trying to tell me. "You see me getting all dressed up cute and going out with my friends and you're feeling left out." "Well, yeah, I am feeling kind of left out. I'd like to spend more time with you. You thought after I lost weight that we would do more things together. And you know what? You're right. We do need to be doing more things together. I can see how you might be feeling left out." Now, can you imagine what a gift it would be to hear that kind of listening from your partner? They can see what's going on with you. They're listening to your words. They're feeding them back to you. In that interaction, you're going to feel good because you gave your partner a really beautiful gift by hearing what they had to say, by not being reactive. Let's play it out in an unhealthy kind of way, right? So your partner is kind of, giving you some nonverbals that things are not all well in their world. And you come and you go, what's the matter with you? You pouting around here, you sulking around. What's your problem? Not going to go well, right? What do you mean, what's my problem? What's your problem? You're gone all the time. What do you mean I'm gone all the time? I'm home all the time. No, you're gone all the time, hanging around with your friends and leaving me at home. Oh, you're feeling sorry. Do you see how that could go? And that's going to lead to more of an argument, more distance between you and the person you want to be close with versus healthy communication and healthy active listening. These skills are so critical and so important in your relationships with your partners, your boyfriend, girlfriend, um, husband, wife, siblings, children, especially. All right. Let's say that you want to be a good listener and you've got your two siblings with you and your parents, and you're having a really sensitive discussion because your parents are ailing, the siblings are involved, the kids maybe, who knows, but everybody's on edge because, it's looking like mom and dad are going to have to go to assisted living. And people's emotions are heightened at times like this, right? So active listening. I hear your concerns about mom and dad. You're talking to your siblings. And you seem really worried. Sister, you seem really angry because you don't want to have to take them out of their house. Brother, you seem really worried because you're not sure how they're going to deal with that. Let's everybody talk about what's going on with them. So an active listener repeats. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're worried about mom and dad going to assisted living. Well, no, I'm not worried. I'm scared. Okay. So I'm sorry. I picked that up as worry. So you're scared about this. That's active listening, making sure I've got it right. I'm guessing about your feeling. You're going to set me straight. All right. What about your middle schooler, the best friend's moving away? If you come to your kid and go, you know what? You're going to lose a lot of friends. People move around a lot. And, just buck up because this isn't going to be the last time this happens. Your kid's not going to feel very heard or very important, or how they feel is important. What would be better is something along the lines of, you look pretty upset about Jimmy moving. I'm going to miss him. Oh, honey, of course you're going to miss him. You guys do a lot of things together. Well, who am I going to hang out with? Ooh, it sounds like you're worried you might not have anybody to hang out with. Yeah, I do everything with Jimmy, and sometimes there's other kids, but I'm usually hanging out with Jimmy. So you're worried when Jimmy's gone, it's going to be scary to have to make new friends. Well, yeah, it is going to be. So you see how you're engaging your child rather than shutting the door on that conversation? And that's being our best adult selves, right? We want to be that kind of parent. We want to be that kind of friend. We want to be that kind of person. Your family pet's dying. Your kids, maybe somebody's dealing with it with anger. Honey, you sound really mad. Well, I am mad. I thought that this dog was going to live until I was in college. I know. It's really upsetting. So you just continue to feed back emotions. That's active listening. And that's going to prevent maybe your teenager from being really mad at you, or your husband or your spouse or your whoever. How does this tie into your weight loss? When we get in arguments with people, it often leads to turning to whatever it is that gives us comfort. And for so many people, it's food. So the more you can have healthy conversations, communication, part of which is your part in the communication of being the communicator, and part of it is being the listener. So if you can develop these skills, you're going to feel much better about you're going to be closer to the people you love, fewer arguments, fewer distancing, less need to turn to food for comfort. Now, let's get back to that business of active listening when it comes to self-talk for just a minute. Your biggest clue in this situation is going to be the choice of words you use. We can be kind with other people and yet very harsh and critical with ourselves. So listen to the choice of words you use when you talk to yourself. Are you demeaning? Are you critical? Are you unkind? Are you shaming yourself? That's not how you'd respond to anybody else you love dearly. At least I hope it's not. So you got to make a conscious effort to change it. If your kid makes a mistake in softball or baseball or their piano or whatever it is they do, hopefully you're not going to say to your child, "What's the matter with you? Can't you get it together? When are you going to learn? How many times do you have to make this mistake?" Right? No. You're going to say, "You know what? We all make mistakes. What can you do so that next time this doesn't happen?" That's a healthy, empathic, active listening response. But do you do that to yourself? Or are you literally abusing yourself with words? You know what's going to happen when you abuse yourself with words. You're going to comfort yourself with food. Not everybody, but that happens so often from the patients that I work with that I'm pretty sure there are a lot of you out there doing that. So, is that how you want to treat yourself? You've got to make a decision. Actively listening to the tone you're speaking to yourself, to the words you're using with yourself, and see what the correlation between your self-talk and your eating habits is. So, actively listening gives you the choice and the chance to observe what's really going on. Wow, I'm beating myself up with my words. Wow, I'm really critical of myself. Wow, I don't have much compassion for myself at all. And lo and behold, that is correlated to my eating habits. Guess what? I can change that. It is a choice. So if you choose to speak more kindly to yourself, chances are you're going to engage less in emotional eating, which is really abusive to yourself. You don't want to continue to engage in that cycle of negative self-talk, eating for comfort, and then abusing yourself for having eaten again. It is a cycle of abuse, and only you can stop it. But you got to become aware of it. And how you become aware of it is through these active listening skills with yourself. So, as you learn to listen more actively to others, those relationships will improve. You're going to be better at working through issues and get more cooperation from others as you ask them to respect your journey in whatever your life, your bariatric process, your school process, your work, whatever it happens to be, things that matter to you. And it'll help you engage in things that aren't all about food all of the time. You want to get away from that 100% of the time, right? Talk about things that mean something to the other people. Engage in their lives. So, it's a lot. Take home messages, active listening, really good tool for improving relationships in every area of your life, especially when talking about really critical things that are of importance to you and to other people. Notice more about what's going on in other people's lives and pay attention to their feelings, regardless of the words that they're using. Actively listening to yourself is going to help you notice how you're talking to yourself, and then you can choose to practice more empathy toward yourself, like you use with other people. And it's going to help you catch yourself when you engage in negative self-talk, and you can change that around. And finally, recognize how your communication skills, whether it's your assertiveness, your I statements, your thoughts, feelings, observations when you're communicating, and how well you're engaging in active listening skills as you go through your day. Use the skills to engage with people and teach them because you are impacting future generations, I guarantee you. So I'm going to encourage you to invite your loved ones to listen to this with you, to talk about how this plays out in your lives, and to coach each other and let each other know what you need more of when it comes to being heard in your relationships. And then learn that critical skill of actively listening to yourself and choosing to share compassionately with yourself the way you do with other people, right? You are worth the same kind of love and consideration that you give to other people. You deserve to give that to yourself as well. Whew, we're doing a lot of work. We're talking about healthy communication, which is a huge part of your weight loss journey. So it's your health, it's your life, it's your responsibility to make these changes this day and every day. And I'm happy to be on this journey with you. And I thank you for taking your time to spend this time listening to me and practicing these skills with yourself and with your family. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.